Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee Chats. Today we have our wonderful clinician, Emma. Emma, introduce yourself a little bit.
Yes, hi, I'm Emma. I'm a therapist at Room to Breathe. I've been here for, I think, just over a year and some
Mm-hmm.
months. And I'm very passionate about like the impact of weight stigma and the pervasiveness of it. And once I get started, I can't really stop. But that is
Yeah.
something I work on a lot with people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I I can't stop talking about it. So I'm very happy to be here so I can talk
Oh
about
my gosh. Well, that's
it.
perfect because we have like the next 40, 50 minutes to talk about it.
Amazing.
So when you're talking about weight stigma, I know we talked about it a little bit right before, but like health at any size, what else? What else? So we just talked about intuitive eating a little bit and then just general stigma around weight, right?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. I will let you do your thing and then I will jump in with questions if I have any.
Okay, thank you. And also pause me at any time if I get too like data driven.
Very
When
sure.
I did my MPH, I did my capstone on it. So I feel like sometimes my brain can kind of switch into like research, data, all of that. And I have to like remind myself to not just go off with that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, when we're talking about weight stigma, I also like to distinguish it between like internalized weight stigma and experienced weight stigma, because
Mm,
while you can really have both going on, the size of your body is going to cause like experienced weight stigma. And they do actually have like noted um health outcomes that are a little bit different. Yeah, like the capstone I did at Loyola was like measuring experienced and internalized weight stigma and doing a literature review on like what are the actual impacts when we're talking about like mental and physical health.
hmm.
But I think like in the world we live in today, like everyone is going to experience either internalized or externalized weight stigma, just based on like all the different factors that play into how we are supposed to be in our
Hmm.
bodies, how we are supposed to feel about our bodies.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So, why don't you go ahead and define those things for me?
Yes. So internalized weight stigma is going to look like a lot of internal narrative that follows the diet industry's messaging. So a lot of critique of your body, critique of how you think people might feel about your body, critique of your relationship with food and
Hmm.
movement.
Hmm.
And it's going to guide a lot of your choices. And then experienced weight stigma is going to be like, what does it look like for you to show up in a larger body and like how you get treated by the outside world? So it can look like anything from like comments online to you or other fat people,
Hmm.
and also like experiences in the doctor's office,
Hmm.
like experiences with actually experiencing discrimination.
Hmm.
So like I said, it can show up both at the same time, but it is important to note that like people in larger bodies will experience discrimination
Hmm.
based on how other people perceive their bodies.
Yeah. Say more
Um,
about what that looks like, maybe on a day-to-day level for folks.
yeah. So it can even be down to like small things like not fitting into seats. So
Hmm.
of course, the most like common thing is like airplane seats. Like you can get denied by a anyone who works in like the airline industry, but like you can get denied and kicked off a plane.
Right.
Yeah. And Southwest used to have a policy that was like you could buy two tickets if you were nervous about fitting into the seat, and then you would get refunded at the gate. But of course, they have taken away that one, so it doesn't leave a
Hmm.
lot of options for people. And traveling is already anxiety inducing in and of itself.
Yeah.
So there's that. And also even just like if you want to like go to class or go to see a movie, like even that, like what do you do when you don't fit into a seat? You just like deprived of that experience.
Hmm.
There's also data that shows that like I don't remember the exact author of this study, but there is a study that analyzes pay.
Mm-hmm.
and people in larger bodies do experience lower pay
Mm-hmm.
in an observable, it's like statistical significance. Um, so even things like that literally affects your livelihood. And then also
Right.
like what if you can't travel? What if you what does it feel like to repeatedly not be able to go to events that require seating,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that.
I've also heard and read about people not getting in the same job opportunities as other people, like impact on hiring or impact on receiving like different projects or maybe like being able to climb up the corporate ladder or getting different positions, higher up positions or whatever based on what you look like or what size body you're in too.
Yeah, and if we think about too, like the intersection of it all, like a lot of people are already getting racially discriminated against. And what does that look like when you're also in a larger body?
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, kind of the most, they're all insidious, but one of the most insidious one is like the rates at which all different people in the medical field have high rates of like fat phobia. So like
Mm-hmm.
even there's documented evidence that like even like medical students, like primary care physicians, physical therapists, like do sometimes carry that higher discriminatory belief. And that can cause someone to literally like go to the doctor's office with one complaint, just get told to lose weight with actually no like real tools or support in
Mm-hmm.
that. And it could be neglecting a very serious medical issue.
I was
And
just gonna say is I have known people in my life, also clients that have come in talking about there's something wrong, right? Like they feel something's wrong, they know something's not right or something's not working the way it should, for lack of a better phrasing. And they go into a doctor's office or a medical professional, wherever, and they're just told that you need to lose weight to fix whatever problem that you're having. But actually, it's a more severe illness or some kind of chronic illness or like whatever that was it.
yeah, like what, and also what does that do to your psyche when like you're going in, this is the ultimate figure of health, the doctor, you're just getting told to lose weight. It might even come off pretty like shamey. Um, like, do you want to go back? Probably not.
Mm-hmm. Also, this losing weight phrasing is, yeah, it doesn't, even if someone wants to lose weight, for whatever reason, it doesn't take a day or two, right? Like, what if they're having physical symptoms or like some kind of illness or severe illness or whatever? Losing weight could take months or years. What about like right now, medication, interventions, other things that can be done for whatever symptoms that someone's experiencing now?
Like
And we're
there's,
neglecting all of
yeah, and losing weight is actually
it.
so hard. And
Yeah.
we're sold this thing of like, oh, if you just like exercise, if you just like eat right, whatever that means, like you'll lose weight. And if you don't lose weight, you're lazy, you don't have like enough discipline, but everything gets put on the individual. And
Hmm.
there's not actually a lot of support. We have things like GLP-1s, but like they're really tricky and
And
they're
they
kind of,
can be helpful, right? They were
yeah.
originally created as medication for diabetics. And
Mhm.
a side effect is weight loss, which can sometimes help people with diabetes. And weight loss can help certain people with some medical issues, but that's not the main reason of why it was created. And now we go into this whole rabbit hole of using it to lose weight as a band-aid instead of
Mhm.
like a band-aid to cover up like topical problems rather than digging deeper and seeing what else is happening. Because there might be something else happening in the body or some other mental health issue too. And no amount of weight loss is actually going to heal or cure those things.
Yeah, and like I totally understand the necessity of those medications, the perfect storm of like that and this kind of weird societal like revert we're doing
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like thinness is everything. Like you have to take GLP-1s for the most part, like for your whole life if you want to have that. And like that can pose health risks. That can also like be really distressing if you go off of them and
Mm-hmm.
gain weight back, which is such a
Mm-hmm.
common occurrence.
Yeah.
So it is very tricky to kind of like navigate the world that we're in now with
Right.
GLP-1s.
Right. And that doesn't, um, like, for example, say an individual struggles with their relationship with food or overeating or something like binge eating. There are some
Yeah.
of those GLP-1s reduce what we call food noise in of like, you know, the hormones and the neurotransmitters and the chemicals in your body are no longer signaling that you need food all the time, or it might help someone that uses eating food as a coping skill, but it doesn't permanently change what your relationship with food is.
Mhm.
So I guess as soon as you come off of it, or if you take it long enough to where your body becomes immune to it, those underlying, um, relationship with food things are still there. And so
Yeah.
you're not like improving your relationship with food if
Like
you're only
it,
using these medications.
God, food noise is such a thing too, because like that is actually part of the intuitive eating model is like so much of the first steps of really like
Mm-hmm.
diving in are like attuning to our hunger cues, like rejecting a diet mentality, which is really hard in the world we live in. But then also like, are we actually feeling and validating our hunger? Like, are we feeling and validating our fullness? And the amount of food noise people are experiencing. Also, any other like ADHD medications, um, any sort of history of disordered eating, what messages you received growing up, what messages are you
Mm-hmm.
receiving now. I could go on and on. Like those really disrupt our cues and create a disconnection from our bodies. So yeah, like I said, like I know GLP-1s are it's not a very like either or situation in terms of good or bad, but it is really difficult when we're seeing like kind of another thing thrown in there that can really disrupt our relationships with our bodies in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
how do we actually feel?
Mm-hmm. Um, I was gonna say something else and then it flew out of my mind. But that's okay. Let's talk a little bit more about the health at any size model,
Mhm.
like your thoughts on that and how you
Yeah.
kind of use that with clients that come into your office.
No, I really love the model because I feel like every model that we have been introduced to has like a diet spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing I really like about a health at every size framework is like you are rebuilding your relationship with your body away from punishment, away from like a constant surveillance
Mm-hmm.
of your body and food, and moving towards a place where you are actually like joined with your body and you trust your body. It goes like really hand in hand with intuitive eating,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it is like all about really tapping in and it also includes exercise. So it is called like intentional movement, which I just like more. It feels better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it is about like finding what movement works for you rather than kind of this just like you must run or like you must hit this amount of steps a day. That one really gets me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it is like, okay, how does your body feel when you do this type of movement? Like, how does your body feel when you go on a walk, when you go on a run, when you swim? And how do we like connect to that and move away from exercise being so tied into food? Like, if I eat this, I have to move this much. If I
Right.
like, yeah.
Yeah, and that food is something that we need to nourish our bodies, and that things are nutrient dense and not nutrient dense, and we need all kinds of food in our life, and we need relaxed movement, and maybe sometimes we need a little bit more high intensity movement, and everybody's body reacts different ways to everything. Um, that's actually what I was going to say earlier is that it is possible to be healthy and be in a bigger body and not look the way media or the typical medical model makes us think we have to look like or be like. Um, just because someone is in a larger body, it does not mean that they're unhealthy.
No, I mean, it's like my classic forever war that I'll be having with the BMI because it is just like,
Yeah.
it's so like, I mean, oh my gosh, I could talk about it forever, but it is like, we don't pay attention. If someone has like a higher BMI, like overweight, obese, that becomes like the prime focus
Yep.
rather than like, what are their blood results say?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is their, how do they feel day to day? Like, those are so much more expansive questions.
Yeah. Am I correct? And I think I previously read that BMIs were actually not created as like and for anybody that doesn't know, it's body mass index that doctors often tell you and use for the barometer of like underweight, obese,
Mhm.
overweight, whatever the wordage is. Um, but I'm sorry, I can hear my baby crying in the back. And I lost my train of
We love him.
thought. It's it wasn't created as a barometer of weight or health or healthy size, right? But I can't remember why it was actually created.
Yeah, so it was created by a Belgian. I have his last name written actually. I think it's Colette. Um, is a Belgian guy who was like an astronomer, a statistician, and he did something else. But it was created as like a measure of what is like the average man. So it was only men from Western Europe, white, and he just measured, yeah, like height and weight compared, and it was just the average man. So it was not created at all to be a measure of health.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't you know it, it started becoming measure of health when MetLife, the insurance company, grabbed onto it.
That I
Um,
didn't know. Okay.
yeah. So it was a way for them to capitalize profits based on how much they will pay and in terms of people's weight. So if you were at a higher weight, you were most likely to pay more because they used BMI as like finding the desirable weight. But the whole thing is that like one like many wellness industry companies and stuff, it is a way to profit. And
Mm-hmm.
it was based on like samples of Western European white men. It doesn't make sense. It's not an indicator of any way, but like
Yeah.
insurance companies grabbed onto it, which they also are not doctors. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if you have any research about like how diet culture even started or like what
Mm,
it even is, but if you do,
yeah.
please like share more about it.
Okay. So I don't want to go too far back, but like in terms of
Mm-hmm.
weight stigma, I talked about this in my blog, for Room to Breathe, but like weight stigma did start as a way to like dehumanize Black people, at least in the United States. It was used as a way to dehumanize Black people who were slaves, and their fatness was then quickly like deemed as like, oh, they're lazy, they have no self-control or discipline.
Mm.
And that's how it all kind of started, as a tool for like glorifying whiteness and for like justifying slavery.
Yeah, lo and behold, it has
Yeah.
to come back to racism.
If you trace it back, you're always going to find it. And
Yeah,
so
for real.
yeah, like this is no different from the rest. But the way that it has morphed has always been a tool of oppression. But like, so that started, and then eugenics was picking up. And
Uh-huh.
eugenics also, like, surprise, surprise, they did not like fat people. Um,
No.
yeah, because of the same meanings attributed. And then we kind of had the BMI started getting widely used. Then we had the obesity epidemic, and that became a way, I mean, in my opinion, but I think this is documented, like it became a way to like place so much individual responsibility on people for their own health. And that way, like the systems that be don't actually have to enact change. They can just make a bunch of billboards that say like eat fruit, like fruits and vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
They can spend money on that. Now they don't have to spend money on actually like providing resources to people and using actual data. Also like the obesity epidemic has become like this moral panic. It's
Mm.
much less about public health now. It's much more about like fear and demonizing people that are of larger weights. And it doesn't actually have a lot of data to really solidify this huge panic we're having.
Mm-hmm.
And based on kind of the insurance companies and BMI, the wellness industry is like $1 billion industry. So like
As
one
is the
like
pharmaceutical industry, which has a lot to play into all this too. Mhm.
yeah, like we're learning all of these rules from people online. And if you look at someone long enough online, like go through their posts
Mhm.
or preaching all of this, they're trying to sell you something. Like 9 times out of 10, you will see like a supplement in their like bio or on
Mhm.
their posts. And it look, if there was an option for people to lose weight that was really easy, we would have found it by now. These supplements don't work. You know what I mean? Like we have
Yeah.
enough data and science to
Yeah.
figure it out. Um,
Yeah.
but it's important to remember that like this has all since the beginning been used for profit.
Mhm. And used to marginalize a whole group of people, whether it's race, gender, um, like identity, the shape
Mhm.
of your body, the size of your body, like
And
looks,
disability.
and like yeah,
Yeah.
disability. I mean, it reeks of ableism, right?
Mhm.
Um, all of it. A lot of marginalized communities, as are a lot of different topics that we talk about, like we mentioned.
Yeah. Like it's important and like in my clinical work too,
Yeah.
like it's really important for me to bring into things of like who is actually saying this? What do they want from you?
Mm,
Do they care about your health? Because this we also have no data to prove that like forcing these narratives like public health initiatives and doctors telling people like lose weight, blah blah blah, all of those things. There's no evidence that this is like lowering obesity rates. You know what I mean? So like
no. And in fact, it's increasing mental health struggle and
mhm.
increasing, well, this goes into mental health, anxiety, depression, disordered eating, relationship with food, like we mentioned.
Yeah. And it's so important to just acknowledge, yeah, like they're trying to make money off of us hating our
Hmm.
bodies.
Hmm.
And that's like a tough pill to swallow, but it's no surprise where we are. But like
Hmm.
they want to make money off of you.
Right. Talk more about long-term effects of internalized weight stigma, experienced weight stigma, external, like all of it. Talk about
Yeah.
the long-term effects of all
No,
of it.
of course. So yeah, in my capstone, it was like something that actually did surprise me was that so to have experienced weight stigma, you do have to be in a larger body. Um, but with and something I do want to note too is like I'm not a fan of anyone saying anything about someone's bodies. That includes people who get told to like eat a cheeseburger and stuff like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
The difference for me is like people who are in larger bodies do have like tangible effects of like discrimination, like you were saying, like getting paid less.
Hmm.
That is going to be very tangible. But like I said, blanket statement for me, I never want to comment on someone's body. It's weird.
It's inappropriate. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Um, and actually none of anybody's business
No,
except
like
their own.
literally, like we live
Yeah.
under this thing of like, if I look at your body, I can know your health status. And that is so gross. And
Yeah.
I won't have it. But yeah,
Yeah.
so experienced weight stigma actually has a really high correlation to binge eating disorder. That was what surprised me. And some of the explanations for that, like the main explanation that I do think makes sense is that like there is so much more pressure on people who are in larger bodies to like fix their bodies, to lose weight, not only because they will receive better treatment by people, but they're getting told like that is the only way to be healthy. But when you deal with so much food noise like that, it is going to be this cycle of like your body getting so hungry, you need to eat, then you're going to restrict.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the model of binge eating disorder. And so that makes a lot of sense, but it did surprise me. But then you see really high rates of people who report internalized weight stigma with anorexia, high rates
Mm.
of anxiety and depression. So
Mm-hmm.
you're statistically, everyone is experiencing some negative mental health effect
Mm-hmm.
from the existence of weight stigma and the pervasiveness of weight
Mm-hmm.
stigma.
Mm-hmm.
But those were the main things that I found in the research, and I was surprised.
Yeah.
But they're still all really hard things to struggle with.
Yeah, of course. Um, which then in turn can also turn into like um, physical organic health
Mm.
issues too, because we know that the mind body connection is an intense connection and one that exists, um, whether it's food related or weight related or size related or not, actually. Someone
Yeah.
that is in a smaller body that experiences significant mental health issues can have a lot of physical complaints, symptoms, chronic illness, while
Yeah.
someone that's in a larger body may or may not. We don't know. And
Yeah.
everybody's body reacts differently to different kinds of stress and environments.
No,
Yeah.
100%.
I'm sorry, did I cut you off? Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
I was just going to turn it into a little bit more of clinical practice of like who we see and how we work with clients. You mentioned it a little bit before. Say more about your work with clients, about health at any size model, intuitive eating, creating space where everybody can be seen and we're starting to dismantle a little bit of that weight stigma.
Yeah, like something that I like to do right off the bat is kind of almost just do like a food history as well. And I'm not just talking about like, do you like to eat or whatever? It's like, what messages have you been receiving?
Yeah.
Like, so something I hear so often is like my primary caregiver was really concerned with their body, like was on it with Weight Watchers, was on it with Atkins.
I
Um,
know Jenny Craig was a big thing back in the day.
yes.
Yeah.
There's like a very certain time period that if you're like a certain age, you
Yep.
experienced like the craze of your parents maybe the only time they would like treat themselves was with the snack wells, which like don't get me
hmm
wrong, I loved
I
sneaking
think
them.
it's like our age range,
I think so too.
like
Yeah.
um like the elder to like middle millennial age, maybe.
Oh yeah, like it was everywhere. Like people talk about the little like cardboard points counter that like their mom would have from Weight Watchers. And like
hmm
it can be really impactful even if you're not getting messaging from a parent directly about your body, like you're seeing how someone that is your caregiver talks about their body. And that can
hmm
immediately make you think about yours. So
hmm
that is always really important is like what was told to you, what did you witness, what became the rules early. So like I think like a
Mm,
lot of us, when we learned the word carb, we learned probably bad in the same sentence.
hmm
um, so that can be like even like third or fourth grade, so it is important to kind of be like where did this come from, and like where have they gotten us. And then a big part too is like what are your food rules? So like going through them, and sometimes too it can even be like just a big moment of realization to be like, oh, like I didn't come up with any of these on my own. I didn't like pick these based on how my body felt. Like I picked these because like I was going to be unliked if I were to get fat, or like um my primary caregiver would never be okay with like this size of a body. So it's just like it can be a big realization even then to be like, oh, okay, so none of these actually I made up. Like, and then it can move into the things of like, how can we start to practice hunger and fullness?
Mhm.
So, like, a really popular one that's so easy is that when someone feels so disconnected from fullness, even just doing a thing of drinking an entire glass of water in a
Mhm.
short period of time, because that's a
Mhm.
really easy way to like feel fullness in your body.
Mhm.
Be like, oh, okay, so when I drink this big glass of water, I notice that my stomach feels full or like heavy. Um,
Mhm.
and that can even be like, oh, wait, okay, so that can be a tool for measuring fullness. And because sometimes we get so disconnected and it makes so much sense, there's no shame in it, that we do have to kind of implement little things to connect us to our bodies.
Yeah, I mean, I do things like that with where are we holding tension in our body. Sometimes we don't even realize that like our shoulders are up to here, or that we're clenching our jaw, or that like our ears are tight and we're raising our eyebrows, right? I think that really goes into that mind-body connection that we were talking
Yeah.
about earlier, of just being aware of how different things are impacting our body and what is it that our body is actually feeling, bringing ourselves back into our body instead of separating it, or what we call dissociation, of just going into survival mode and ignoring signs that our mind and our body are giving us.
No, that's what I love about the connection between it and like somatic therapy as well, is
Mm-hmm.
that there's even like, I'll showcase intuitive eating workbook, which I highly
Yep,
recommend.
I love
Um,
it.
but there is even like an exercise, I think, early on in the book that is like a chart that's like, I'm going to write how every single body part feels. So, like you said, even like down to your ears,
Mm,
like we're going to sit and check in with every single one, even if it feels weird. We're going to, what does our elbow feel like?
mm-hmm.
And even noting that, like, we often do have the ability to do that, but like, we do typically ignore those things. You know, like, I don't always need to know how my elbow feels, but even practicing that to get the like muscle memory in
Mm-hmm.
of like, okay, so maybe I never notice when I'm super hungry because I've coached myself into that,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm just a busy human being. Like, what emotions come up when I'm hungry? How does my stomach
Mm,
feel? How does my head feel? How does my neck feel? Like, it can really be those basics. And like I said, there's no shame because I think we've just been discouraged from not
mm-hmm.
only tapping into our bodies, but like also being able to honor our hunger.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
think when we learn those things, it gives us the power back instead of giving our power
Mm,
away to these higher entities that are trying to sell us products or are trying to shame us because they benefit off of us not
yeah.
learning how to advocate ourselves and being back and aware in our bodies. And that's a really powerful realization, I think, of like, oh,
Mhm.
I am hungry. Oh, that's what my body feels like when it's full, right? And these are all really hard changes to make, but powerful ones. I am curious as to how clients usually respond when they first come into your office and you're talking about
I think that there can be a lot of hesitancy, and
this. Hmm.
that's so understandable. Like,
Hmm.
I think that whether people want to admit it or not, based on the world we live in, like dropping the rope a bit with those like food rules, and
Mm,
it it can make people really scared of like how will they be
yeah,
perceived if they were to gain
yeah.
weight, or like what do I do if I don't have these rules around food? And that's, like I said, so fair. But the whole thing about like many forms of therapy and like reconnecting to ourselves is like having to acknowledge that like dieting culture also, it directly like disrupts our trust with our body because we live by rules. And also we as humans like don't want to live without rules in a way because it provides so much clarity.
Well, and that's what, we're always um being taught, even as children, that like discipline and routine like helps. And I think as adults, that does help us in
Yeah.
terms of like giving us some kind of goal, or like I said, a routine, or um something to do because a lot of times if we're idle, things don't exactly go the way that we
Hmm.
plan to. We need appointments. We need structure. That's what I was looking for. We need structure. We need
Yeah.
something to anticipate.
Yeah. And like with food, it's like how much, if we look at like in session, we'll often go over, yeah, like what are your food rules? What are the structures there? And often then the next kind of thing is like, are these structures and food rules draining you? Like what,
Like how are they serving you almost?
yeah. And like,
Yeah.
how is it actually helping not only your mental health, but oftentimes your physical health?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know we're winding down on time here, but was there anything else that you wanted to talk about or highlight that we didn't get to talk about today?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I feel like we touched on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like recommendations
Go
for
for it.
people to maybe check out.
Yeah,
Um,
please.
so I have two of the books. The other one is on my e-reader, but both of Aubrey Gordon's books,
Mm-hmm.
always, I need people to read them.
Aubrey
The
Gordon.
whole,
Okay.
yes, she is the co-host of Maintenance Phase, which I feel like is people are really into it. It's a podcast that kind of started as like debunking fad diets and now has more
Mm,
into like such a healing podcast of like
mm,
bunking a lot of stuff, and they're also so funny. But the other book is called Fearing the Black Body by Sabrina Strings. And
mm-hmm,
that is where a lot of the good information is in terms of like the history of it all.
mm-hmm.
And then if you're not really a book person, Maintenance Phase, the podcast, is
Yeah,
the one that drew me into this back in like
yeah,
2020. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, last little blurb here. If you want to, like, clients, people watching this, maybe future clients of yours, to take one thing away from the information that we've talked about today, what would it be?
Yeah. Oh gosh, that one's actually kind of hard. Um, I'm like, there's so many things. Um,
Well,
maybe
it can be a
just,
few things. It doesn't have to just be
yeah,
one thing.
you are the expert of your own body. I don't care what people say. Yes,
Mm,
doctors went to school. We as therapists went to school. We have experience. We're not the expert of your body.
mm-hmm.
And the next one, this is hard. Um, do your very best to stop attributing morality to your body and to what you eat. Start
Mm,
noticing the messages of like when something is placed in front of you, or maybe a food you're avoiding, are you just calling it bad? Or then you labeling it as like, I'm going to get fat, then I'm going to
yeah,
be lazy. Like, what are the moral messagings you have around food and your body? And like, how can we think about how do we move that to like a neutral standpoint?
sure.
Um, because that creates the cycle of shame like nothing else. But yeah,
Yeah.
those are the two things that come to my head.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. That's beautiful. And thank you everyone for hopping on to listen to us today. Check out Emma's blog that has some of the same information but more that she has written on weight stigma as well. And check back in the future for any other coffee chats we might have. Thanks everyone. Thanks, Emma.
Bye.